to a new episode of Build Your House Talks. I'm Hatim Abousi, the exhibition manager of Build Your House Qatar. Now, given the unprecedented circumstances created by the COVID-19 pandemic, it can be easy to overlook some other issues that would be otherwise in the forefront of our minds. Now, the environment and sustainability are two of such issues that have been almost ignored in the last few months, especially in an industry that have a big impact on our living environments, such as construction. Now, to find out more about this topic, we have the pleasure to host Mr. Hamouda Youssef, Head of Technical Affairs of Qatar Green Building Council. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation.
Thank you, Hatem, and thanks for the Next Fairs and Build Your Home exhibition for inviting me for today's session.
Pleasure is ours, sir. Now, can you please start with a brief about Qatar Green Building Council?
Yes. So the Green Building Council was established in 2009 by a decree by Her Highness Sheikha Mozammit Nasser as a member of Qatar Foundation, and the mission and vision for QGBC was mostly in brief is to foster sustainability within the community. And when we speak about sustainability, we go beyond buildings to speak about sustainability as a wide perspective, as a lifestyle, as a business style, as a practice in our daily lives. And that's what has been driving QGBC's programs and development of engagement with the community, with the wider community over the years. Going from outreach programs like Qatar Sustainability Week and Qatar Sustainability Awards and No Paper Day, to technical programs and engagements like the Eco Schools program, Green Key, Eco Campus, and the training, the capacity building and training that we have been offering through the years, to research, which we have several applied research with our research team. So it has been quite a journey, to be fair, engaging, and there's still more to do, of course. And as we need to adapt with the new situation, and we still need to provide answers and solutions for everyone to sustain and to be more resilient in the country.
Understood. Well, thank you for the introduction. But you mentioned, sir, a few buzzwords that everyone has been hearing about in the last decade or so. Can you please enlighten the public about the importance and key aspects of sustainable and green living?
Okay, so the sustainability from our perspective is not just to build the right building, but how to live in it as well. How to live in it, how to use it equally. That's equally important because regardless of the infrastructure, the investment in the infrastructure and buildings, if you don't have, I would say, an equal understanding and appreciation and endorsement to the movement, that wouldn't be living to the ambition of it. So that's why sustainability as a lifestyle, or as we call it, is equally important. And for that, it goes from everything, from the way you use your energy and water to become more energy efficient, for instance, to making the right decisions when you purchase your supplies, to become more efficient and reduce your waste when you eat, when you consume any material or any consumables, to exercising, to being more appreciative of your surrounding environment and respecting and protecting it. So sustainability is quite broad. That's why it's required people to be equally, I would say, educated and at the same time engaging with their context.
Understood. And as you mentioned, it can be a standalone initiative by people or companies, but also it can be a result of collaboration. Now, we know that QGBC does a lot of that. How do you collaborate with the local companies to enforce your values, especially now amid the pandemic?
Yes. So back to the sustainability as a lifestyle as a theme, to have this kind of lifestyle, you need to balance two things, supply and demand. So if people are willing to live more sustainable, they would be looking for some products that are eco-friendly, for instance. They will be looking of ways of materials and suppliers and contractors and consultants to build their homes in a sustainable manner. On the other end, if you have from the innovation perspective, if you have a new technology or a sustainable technology or a green product, will be looking to find people who will be appreciating your products, who will be, using them. And that's where QGBC comes in as a platform of collaboration between both ends of the balance. Of course, there's a third party into that, which is, I would say, the organizations and government institutions that regulate the market and that provide incentives to the market and the infrastructure for these, I would say, these parties to work in harmony. And that's our role as QGBC, is working as this platform through our programs by creating, like from creating training to creating something like Sustainability Week is an opportunity for the community to come together from both ends, as I would say, from the supply side or the demand side, to appreciate and negotiate and discuss sustainability and see ways of applying sustainability in their built environment and their surroundings. So opportunities like these is what create the discussion, what create the conversation, and this what I would say drive the improvements and the endorsement further. When people see local examples of suppliers and contractors and service providers who really provide a good quality, eco-friendly services, this will make things easier for them and more appreciative, of course, as they'll be supporting local businesses. And on the other hand, as suppliers and service providers see more and more people requesting this kind of services, this will create a sustainable local market. And this is the other end of sustainability. From a triple bottom line, sustainability needs to balance social, economic, and environmental aspects. So this kind of balance between the socio-economics and environment is what drive a sustainable future for the country.
Understood. And we get also from your description that QGBC is more of a catalyst, encouraging and empowering the local players to contribute to this lifestyle, as you mentioned, but also to cross-educate each other about the good practices and the good products that needs to be enforced and pushed more into the market, right?
Yes. And from a catalyst perspective, that's where we generate and create our programs. So for instance, we have the Qatar Green Building Conference and its exhibition. It was one of the first green building conferences and dedicated sustainability conferences in the country. And in that, we created our own, or the start of the, let's say, green exhibitions, where we have green vendors and green suppliers coming and showcasing their innovation and products and getting in discussion with the wider market. And it goes on, as I mentioned to you, each of our programs has its own audience, message, and ways of communicating its objectives and vision throughout.
It all sounds very optimistic, and we know for a fact that you guys are doing an excellent job in the market. Now, being a non-profit organization, did that impact your initiatives during the COVID-19 phase, or you managed to push through your message still to equally to suppliers and Qatari citizens?
I mean, being a non-profit organization and especially a member of Qatar Foundation, give us actually empower our position, given that we have no conflict of interest with any side. We have no interest but the country's interest in promoting sustainability and empowering people to be more sustainable. COVID, dealing with our showing resiliency through the pandemic, actually, I would believe showed higher interest in sustainability. Because, for instance, as in the start of the pandemic and the lockdown, we started a new campaign, which called a While at Home campaign, which was all digital. So it was a way to engage and stay in touch with our community, show them ways of staying sustainable even through the pandemic. So the while at home, and now with everyone staying at home, I'm glad that things are easing up a bit now. But in the early days, you have been doing everything at your home. So your home became your office, your school, your mosque, your entertainment hub. It became everything. So the same space became everything for you. And with things with the so that's why we saw it's important to show people how to stay sustainable and engaging during this period. Equally important, part of sustainability is health and well-being and people wellness. And that's why we had our first webinar in this campaign was Healthy Homes. Uh, Simple, easy steps to how to make your home healthier, using some simple techniques, do it at home or do it yourself techniques. And it was very popular, and we had repeated a couple of times in both English and Arabic, and the engagement with it was excellent. We did another one later, looking at food waste and composting at home. A third one was looking at the schools and the kids at schools and how they can make their home more sustainable while at home. So and we were quite impressed with the engagement, local engagement with the campaign, because people started posting their own experiences, and that was the success for us, to see people engaging and showcasing their best practices.
Definitely. That shows the positive impact of your initiatives. Now, I couldn't stop but notice that most of the initiatives you, sir, have mentioned are addressed to the citizens and residents of the country. Well, can you please enlighten us about QGBC contribution to the current national recovery initiatives, especially to support the construction industry overall?
Yeah. So speaking of that, I mean, we have a couple of dedicated industry programs, one of which is the Green Key, and that support the hospitality sector. That's a dedicated program for hospitality sector. And as a way of supporting the sector, we waived all of the application and registration fees for the program at the start of the pandemic, and this will continue till the end of this year. We had a dedicated session and workshop with the hospitality industry, showing them, giving them guidance on how to continue operational in sustainable manner during what's called the skeleton operation. So in low occupancy phases, and while maintaining the heightened requirement for health and hygiene. We are providing guidance for them. We even had several one-to-one workshops and meetings to support the hotels in that sector. So this was a good example of supporting, I would say, the sector, especially that has been, I would say, negatively hit due to the pandemic, and inshallah, with the recovery coming in hand, we are launching, I mean, in support with international organizations, we are looking now into the what we call the recovery operational strategies for the health and safety, because as I mentioned, health and safety for us is part of sustainability. So the guidance for that are coming soon, and we'll be announcing them in the couple of few weeks.
Understood, and it's very promising. Now, most of the industries for sure have been hit during the pandemic. What are your insights about the recovery of the construction industry?
I mean, in general, I would say the construction industry managed, especially for the mega projects, managed to sustain its operation during the pandemic due to the heightened health and safety requirement, which was already in place before the pandemic. I mean, the country has a good record of, I would say, health and safety procedures in the big, especially in the big mega projects through Ajral and Supreme Committee, Qatar Foundation, and so on. So I think it didn't came, the pandemic only increased attention to this aspect, but it wasn't a surprise. It didn't introduce new, I would say, out of a sudden procedures. So companies managed to survive. Yes, there was, I would say, a slowdown in smaller projects, which we are hoping now with the reopening phases that were announced by the country, things will be coming back into business a bit, and hopefully before the end of this year, things will be as close to normal as possible. But I think it makes people more aware that of how to be resilient. And resiliency is one of our key messages, and that's why with our health and safety guidance, I think this will help the construction industry in I would say a more resilience recovery that will be more sustainable in the long term.
It all sounds good. Now, for the last part, any last message for the Qatari citizens or the local companies to adopt green and sustainable lifestyles?
I think our key message stays equally important as we are moving forward in our future. We learn from these kind of hard times and situations, and either it's a pandemic or it's other blockade or whatever, and it showed us how it's important to rely on our local economy and empower our local economy and local businesses. That's the that's a cornerstone in any sustainability movement to move forward, to have a good backbone of local businesses supporting it and empowering it. And we are seeing this growth in sustainable and eco-friendly products all across all sectors, from construction to home supplies to providers and consultants and teachers and students. We are seeing this movement getting bigger and bigger. I mean, last year in Qatar Sustainability Week 2019, we have seen our biggest participation ever that almost reached 1 million people over social media and 50,000 actual participation on events. So the community is getting more and more aware of sustainability. It's our role to continue empowering them, to show them good practices and guidance. And these good practices wouldn't be imported. We have to make them through local eyes and through local voices. And hopefully this is what we will be able to continue in doing with the help of the society and the wider community in the coming years.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Hamouda Youssef, for your time and insights today.
Thank you, Hatem.
Thank you. It's a pleasure having you.
Same here. Thank you very much.
Now, dear audience, as you have realized by now, the effects of this crisis are also positive, filled with opportunities for Qatari citizens and Qatari companies to shape the environment, but also to have a more sustainable living conditions around us. Thank you so much for watching today's episode of BYH Talks. We'll see you again next time.